Thanks for sending in your questions. We got a really great one this week, and it is, am I having an awakening, and what do I do now? So I thought it'd be a great idea for you to hear multiple perspectives on that, because I don't think that there's one right answer. And the other thing about this is maybe it'll help you to see that you can have a really different idea from the rest of us and still be a panist. So stay tuned and we'll talk about that in just a second. Hi, it's Laura Giles. Thanks for joining me. Now, the first question is, am I having an awakening? And I think only you can answer that question, but I can tell you about what it felt like from my perspective. So for me, I went from a place of being safe in the world, understanding how everything worked, and feeling really comfortable in my skin, to just not having any idea how anything worked anymore. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know anything. It was like starting all over. So in a way, it was like going around the wheel, getting to that point of death, dying, and being reborn as a new person, literally. So the question is, what do I do now? First, I think it really depends on whether or not you've had an awakening or not. Because what happens when we go around this wheel, this happens to lots of people all the time, and we get to the place of death and we say, oh, no, thank you. That's too scary. And so we just keep going around as the same person over and over and over. So we're not really transforming. Maybe something has changed, but it's not a transformation. And I think if we're having an awakening, it's really a call to adventure. It's a call to begin again. And I don't know. So maybe there's like a definition thing. So is it an awakening if we refuse the call? I don't know. Or could it just be that I'm just refusing the call to awaken? So what I most often see is that something happens. So we're in the mainstream world, okay? In the mainstream world, there's a whole bunch of different things that don't go on and do go on that don't really happen in, let's say, the animist world. So there's a whole bunch of things that I grew up with that were just normal. It was not unusual to talk to spirits and have them talk back to you. It was not unusual to see dreams as messages and pay attention to your dreams. It was not unusual to have the ability or see somebody with the ability for hands-on healing. So a lot of these things that we call New Age now and spiritual are just really a part of life. And I think a lot of people now, are just discovering it for the first time, and it's just like, oh my God, it's an awakening. And maybe it is. Maybe this has really turned my reality paradigm around. So, but what can happen is that you get there, so you're crossing the threshold of death, something happens to you. It could be a near-death experience. It could be drug-induced. It could be just a tragedy, like a car accident, a divorce, something like that happens. Or you could just read about something and you just have an aha moment. It could be, I was just hanging out in a float tank and all of a sudden, boom. So something happens. That's the call to adventure. And then things just don't look the same anymore. And from there, what I most commonly see is that, okay, so here's the threshold of death. And then you're here. You just cross that threshold and you have the opportunity to do something. And then the person stays here and they look down at these people and go, hey, you guys, guess what I can do? Guess what I know? These things. And you keep continuing to mess around with the people down here, which is fine because we're all part of the same universe and we're all brothers and sisters. So I'm not saying, leave those people alone, not by any means. But what can happen is your mentality stays here and you don't heed the call to grow. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm just so awake now. I'm just so wonderful now. I'm so talented and I'm so skilled and I'm so different. And then you can get kind of wrapped up in your own ego. And there's a name for that, and it's called Glamouring. So a lot of people do this and look at me. And then these people are like, yeah, look at you, wow. And so they're glamored and you're glamored and you don't really keep going. So really, for me and my perspective is like here you're in the womb, and instead of dying, in this case, the transformation is being born. So now you're a baby. We don't stay babies. We keep going around the wheel. We keep learning and we keep growing. So yes, this thing happened. Yes, there's a big transformation and a change, but we don't stay here and, you know, contemplate our navel and levitate even better or whatever it is that, you know, brought this awakening thing. You keep growing, you keep asking questions, and you keep moving until you do it again and again and again. So we keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. So I guess what I'm saying is lots of people are saying now that they've had an awakening, which is fantastic. I hope we do have awakenings because we all need to grow together. But don't let yourself be glamored. Keep going. Keep that beginner's mind. Keep being curious. Do ask questions, because there are people out here who can help you in that. I know that, you know, having a place to go when it happened to me and finding my footing again was instrumental in keeping going, because it can feel really awful. I know that I felt moody, not myself, things that I cared about, used to care about, I didn't care about anymore, and it was just like, whoa, what is going on? So it can be really, really challenging to cross that threshold, and it can be really comforting to want to hang on to the old ways and the old people and the old thinking. But if you're going to transform, you have to let it go. You just have to let it go. So that's my 2 cents. I can't wait to hear what our other speakers say. I can't wait to hear your comments, your questions, your stories. Tell me about your awakening story. What was that like? Thanks so much for the questions. Keep them coming. We really appreciate them. And please like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next Pan video. Ciao.